Type 1 diabetes is a condition in which the pancreas produces little or no insulin. Insulin is a hormone that helps your body use blood sugar, known as glucose, for energy. Your body takes the food you eat and breaks down fat, protein, and carbohydrates for energy. While your body is digesting the food, the carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. The glucose is then absorbed into the bloodstream, where it is carried to cells throughout your body. Insulin helps your cells absorb the glucose in your blood, allowing it to be used as energy. A healthy pancreas releases a regular supply of insulin into your bloodstream. After you eat, your blood glucose levels rise, and your pancreas responds by releasing more insulin to move the glucose into your cells. Insulin acts as a key, opening up the cell so it can accept the glucose. In a person with type 1 diabetes, the pancreas produces little or no insulin. Without insulin, blood glucose levels rise. Without insulin, glucose cannot enter the cells and be used for energy. As a result, it remains in the bloodstream. As a person with type 1 diabetes, it is important to monitor and maintain healthy blood glucose levels. High blood glucose levels over a long period of time can lead to health complications. If your blood glucose level drops too low, even for a short amount of time, you may feel dizzy or too hot or cold. If your blood glucose level drops extremely low, you may lose consciousness. By taking insulin as prescribed by your doctor and maintaining a healthy diet, you can keep your blood glucose levels within a healthy range.
Type 1 diabetes is a lifelong, incurable condition originating in the pancreas. When the pancreas is working properly, it produces insulin. Insulin is responsible for regulating the level of glucose or sugar in the blood. What gasoline is to a car, glucose is to the body, fuel. We need energy all the time, and glucose or sugar is our main source. So what happens with glucose? Well, glucose enters the bloodstream when the body breaks down food to use as fuel. The level of glucose in our blood is controlled mainly by the pancreas, which manufactures and releases the hormone insulin. Insulin works like a key and allows the body's cells to take glucose out of the bloodstream into the body's cells and store, or use as energy. In diabetes, two complications can occur. If the pancreas does not release enough insulin, the body's tissues can't fully take up glucose, and glucose levels in the bloodstream rise. When tissues are insulin resistant, the problem is compounded. They don't respond properly to insulin. Simply, the cells can't take in the glucose, causing a buildup of sugar in the bloodstream, creating devastating consequences for the diabetic. At present, there is no cure for diabetes, but there is hope. At Children's Hospital and Research Center in Oakland, California, Dr. Catherine Egley treats children diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. She describes the symptoms.
You lose weight, you get dehydrated, you start to go to the bathroom a lot. Children who didn't bedwet might start bedwetting again at night, and they'd feel very thirsty and they'd feel very hungry because their brain, even though they may be eating a lot and drinking a lot, feels as if they're being starved.
To stay alive, the diabetic becomes totally dependent on insulin, either through self-injections or an insulin pump. It is a disease requiring monitoring and management 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
There's no other treatment that works because in childhood diabetes, also known as type 1 diabetes, your pancreas has lost the ability to make insulin. So that you can't take pills, you have to take shots every day. And we're not as good as the human.
The basics of both types of diabetes are the same. When your body digests food, it sends energy to your cells in the form of glucose or blood sugar. Normally, the levels of glucose in your blood are controlled by a gland in your body called the pancreas. It makes insulin, which moves sugar out of the bloodstream into the cells. If the body doesn't make insulin, or doesn't make enough, your digestive system dumps more and more sugar into the bloodstream, and it has nowhere to go. It builds up in the blood, and it causes life-threatening problems, and that's diabetes. Now here's the difference. Type 1 diabetes is a malfunction of the pancreas. It no longer can make insulin, and it usually shows up early in life. This is your bloodstream. In type 1 diabetes, the cells that make insulin are somehow destroyed. But your digestive system still does its job and puts energy into the system in the form of glucose. Normally, insulin would tell the bloodstream to dump that glucose into the cells to give it energy. If your body makes little or no insulin, the sugar sits in the bloodstream and clogs up the works, and you're diabetic. Type 2 diabetes is something you usually get later in life. Although we're not really sure of the cause, excess weight, diet, and a strong family history are some of the biggest risk factors for getting type 2 diabetes. Over time, the cells in your body become resistant to the actions of insulin. You no longer respond to insulin the way you normally would. Different cause, but in the end, the same problem. Here's another difference. Type 2 diabetes can actually be prevented. If your doctor tells you that you have pre-diabetic symptoms, you could actually halt the progression into full-blown diabetes through diet and exercise. For a step ahead, I'm Dr. Anthony Cardillo.